to hand it off, we're going to start with Joan Muller from Waquoit Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve. Joan has been the education coordinator there for over 25 years. I actually got to know Joan, I think in 2019, it may have been. I had a seasonal position there as an educator. And it was my first time specifically teaching environmental education. I was always a sailing coach before, with like offshoot moments where I could teach in the classroom. So she took a chance on me, and I got it's in a beautiful spot in East Falmouth. We got to bring the kids right out to the marsh. It was so great. But anyways, it's about Joan. So during her time there, she's worked with a
We
variety.
lucked out getting you, Hannah.
She's worked with kids from pre-K to K through 12, college teachers, coastal decision makers, community members, and beyond, like everyone, right? Over the years, she has spearheaded projects developing curriculum for NERR that you can find online. She's going to share some with you. Some specifically working with members of the deaf community for training and education resources in their classrooms. So she'll hint at that. This is a plug. If you use those resources, if you use ASL in your classroom, please let us know in the chat, because she'll hit a little bit more on that for you. Before working at the reserve, Joan was a classroom teacher for students with learning disabilities, and she also worked in the Massachusetts Audubon and the National Wildlife Federation, and as a national park ranger. So she's been in it. She's been in the field. She's got a lot of tips, and I'm really excited to hear from her. Following Joan, you'll hear from Larissa. Larissa Graham is the education coordinator at the Connecticut National Estuarine Research Reserve. She has worked in the environmental field for nearly 15 years, sharing science-based information with a variety of coastal audiences. After finishing graduate school, Larissa served with New York Sea Grant. Another thing you should look at, Sea Grant resources are great. We'll share more. As the Long Island Sound Study Outreach Coordinator. In 2013, Larissa moved to the Gulf Coast, where she worked with Mississippi, Alabama Sea Grant, the Grand Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve, and the Student Conservation. After a decade away, she just came back to New England with the newly established Connecticut NERR, and is starting to retouch her love with the community around here. So I'm excited to hand it off to these two. And Joan, you are a co-host, so you're all set. I'm going to pin you for everyone to see as you present.
All right. All right. Oh, all right. So you can you see the screen okay? All set?
Yes, you're all set.
Okay, very good. So I will. All right, so just to get started on this program on the National Estuarine Research Reserve System and what teacher resources we have, Larissa and I will tag team on this. Just to get started, the National Estuarine Research Reserves are a national system of 30 reserves around the country, and they're designated to protect and study estuarine systems. We have them in Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and all these states that you can see right here. And we focus on water quality, habitats, and climate change are some of the topics that are being studied at the reserves. And we call them sectors, but we are looking at things with research and monitoring to see what's happening in the estuaries and how what we do in the watersheds affects them. We have a stewardship section which focuses on us taking good care of our own lands, as well as teaching others to do so. Education, Larissa and I will be talking more in depth about that. And then coastal training program is actually training program for coastal decision makers, people who it's part of their career to do that, their job description. These are the education objectives from Larissa's new management plan for Connecticut, but they really summarize well what all the reserves are trying to do with education. So we're trying to provide hands-on, experiential, place-based learning opportunities, and to promote environmental stewardship and environmental literacy. And we also have some really nice resources online. So we'll tell you about those as well. Now, one of the national programs that we do at every single research reserves is the Teachers on the Estuary program. And these are professional development workshops for K-12 teachers. They are field-based and also research-based. We try to include a lot of the researchers in the actual workshops so people can talk to them and get the information straight from them, as well as the educators. And as I mentioned, they're offered all across the nation at all the reserves. So you can go to probably Larissa will show you that, but you can go to the website and see what's happening in Alaska or Puerto Rico, and maybe you want to visit the one in your own state to learn about your local things, but maybe you want to see what's happening in the other ones as well. So now going a little bit into the Waquoit Bay Reserve, this mission is also kind of summarizes what we're trying to do at all the reserves, is to promote science-based decision-making that leads to healthy coastal ecosystems. Every state needs to find a state partner. And so in Massachusetts, the state partner is the Department of Conservation and Recreation. And also I'm just also put this, so we're part of the state park system, and you see this little circle here. That's where we're located in Massachusetts. So we're right in Falmouth on Cape Cod there. We have some really nice habitats. We have nice marshes, we have sandy beaches, we have freshwater rivers going into the estuaries, and we even have an island that usually has camping there as well. So we've got some interesting habitats and places you can visit at our reserve. So just these TOTE workshops, these Teachers on the Estuary workshops, we often will pick a theme, and investigating and changing environment is one theme that we've used a lot. We used this past summer, which is more looking at climate change and sea level rise and activities around that. This year, I also did one in April, wastewater and watersheds, because that's become a hot topic on the Cape. And so we zeroed in on that and did a lot of visiting of different things and learning about that and activities for that. We've also done things where we got grants to do curriculum around a big research project, which was the Bringing Wetlands to Market project, which was trying to see how much carbon is stored in salt marshes. So this is a high school interdisciplinary curriculum that's online, and I'll just show you where to locate it on our website, but it has web-based classroom and field activities. And where there was already a good activity, we gave credit and included it rather than reinventing the wheel. When the research project was done, we were able to do some lessons based on the project data, so that's now available as well. Another project that we did like that was a project, again, with other New England sites, research reserves, and this idea of sentinel sites. So there are sentinel sites at all the research reserves. They're trying to keep watch on what's happening in our salt marshes and keeping track of that and monitoring that, sea level rise and all that. So what we did was we developed some activities where the teachers could actually go back to their own school and create with their students, create sentinel sites at their schools, monitoring whatever, just taking the concept behind this idea of monitoring to see what change was happening. We also did some totes that were really targeted for elementary teachers, and we worked with our local Wampanoag tribe to offer that with their educators, and those were very popular. And we got another grant to work with members of the deaf community. We worked with a lot of partners, again, the reserves in Wells, Maine, and also in Narragansett in Rhode Island. We worked together with the Learning Center for the Deaf and the Boston University and deaf STEM professionals actually created some signs for some of the words that in the past have been mainly finger spelled. So in this one slide here, you can see we're all signing the sign that was created for the word estuary, where you have the fresh and the salt water mixing. And they developed a lot of conceptual signs that I think not only work well with deaf students, but also, you know, with any students to help understand some of the vocabulary. And we had a tote workshop for the teachers at the schools for the deaf in the 3 states, as well as the interpreters. And we also have been and continue to do training for the pre-service teachers in deaf education at Boston University. And then one thing that we that grew out of the workshops where we were working with, this is Kitty. Let me see if I can make the Kitty Hendricks, who's the educator that I've been working with on those tote workshops all those years. But then she came to me with the idea that they wanted to do a more intense workshop. And I was just the facilitator on this workshop. And then the members of the tribe did, you know, the planning. We planned together, but they put into it what they wanted to share from the traditional ecological knowledge. And they did all the teaching during the 3-day workshop. And it was very powerful. I learned a lot myself, and as well as all the teachers. So that's another one that is not a tote workshop, because I didn't want to have many requirements for them to have to go with, but well, it's been very powerful. Just to let you know, yes, we do student programming as well, have a lot of different schools coming to do hands-on programming. And this is another where we work with educators from the tribe. So one station, we actually have a Waquoit and a canoe on site where the kids get to learn about Wampanoag culture and how it relates to the estuary. And then, well, it's just an example of one school that comes and they do learn about groundwater activities in the classroom, and then go down to the bay to take water quality measurements and things. And we do our best to accommodate. So we usually, if there's any need for like a student that uses a wheelchair or has some more challenges getting downstairs and things, we do that individually with the classes, because we do have some steep stairs over here. So this young man was able to get down and have a really good experience down at the bay with everyone else. Sometimes we need to add like a ramp if we need to, and a couple times we had to actually do it in a different place, just if there was a real person that couldn't get out down with a wheelchair. So we had to make accommodations for some of these things to be able to accommodate everybody. Oh, I put this in for Hannah, the Waquoit Bay Science School. It's for kids going into grade 2 through 12, and I just want to advertise that we have scholarships. So if you know, it didn't seem like there was anybody from Cape Cod, but often kids come to visit their grandma or something. So we do have full and half scholarships if anybody. It's a whole week-long program to get the kids out there. So and I think I do it on time. I wanted to show a few of our resources on our website. So this is, so just look on the education tab. And Hannah, can you tell me if anybody said they actually use ASL with their students?
I didn't see anyone say that they use it, but as you were speaking, I did add links to TOTE, to bringing wetlands to market, and the WADE project. I'll add a link to the general website too, so they can follow
Good.
along.
Okay, and so I won't go over this section of our website called American Sign Language Estuary Education Resources, but there's a lot of cool things there, including, some of the signs, and also stories done in ASL, story videos in ASL, and a bunch of other cool resources there. So just to check out our regular teacher resources, you can look for upcoming workshops. This is where the Bringing Wetlands to Market curriculum is that we just mentioned. This is where the Sentinel site lesson plan is that I mentioned. Larissa will go over this suite of estuary education resources that NOAA has. This section here, these parks as classrooms, were something for the that the state parks.
Hey, Joan, I'm sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt you. I think we can't see the additional webpage that we pulled up. I did give them a link.
Oh, you can't see this?
No, we just see the hyperlink attachment, but not the webpage.
Oh,
So you might
okay.
have to unshare from the PowerPoint and then like reshare, opening up the,
Oh, stop share and then share again.
yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Here it is. Is that better?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for the good directions. So just to reiterate, so this is the Bringing Wetlands to Market curriculum that we mentioned, the Central Site lesson plan booklet. Larissa will go over these. This virtual parks as classrooms. These are part of a state initiative, and they are nice little, just two sides of a page. They all come with a little video that goes with it, and activities. And there's a couple for young kids, the osprey observations, the horseshoe crabs one's more for elementary kids, the sea level rise, and the water quality one more for high school kids. These two actually use our data and the little activities, so just very simple. This one, if you ask our researchers, it's a series of videos that were made where you can, there's like 6 different researchers who were interviewed, and then you can snap on a question and the researcher will answer it for you. So that's what that section is. This one, these film shorts, we did as part of a Juneteenth celebration with our two local high schools actually, and the students interviewed STEM professionals who are African American and Caribbean in honor of Juneteenth. And so you can get their story, how they got into their career, and I think those are pretty cool. So I want to make sure I don't go over my time. I want to leave a good amount of time for Larissa. So I'm going to leave it there and just encourage you to take a look.
That's great. Thank you so much, Joan. I'll remove you as the spotlight. I'm excited to hit back on these in our Q&A. Also,
Okay.
thanks for putting in the summer science school. That's great. All right, Larissa, are you all set?
Yeah, I am. Let me share my screen. Hey, everyone.
Perfect. Spotlight on you.
Here we go. Okay, good. Nice. Awesome. Okay, cool. So, thanks. Excited to be with y'all today, well, this evening. So, as Hannah said, I'm Larissa. I'm the education coordinator over at the Connecticut Reserve. And I think Joan did an awesome job kind of laying out what reserves actually are, what we do. But I want to tell you a little bit about our reserve because it's brand new. So the Connecticut National Estuary Research Reserve was just established in July of 2022. We just hired our manager, last full-time staff that we're getting for a little bit, back in August. So we are like brand stinking new. So happy that Joan was here to kind of show what a reserve could be. We have lots of ideas. It's just going to take us a minute to get there. So this is the Connecticut Reserve. This is the eastern part of Long Island Sound, if you're familiar. So the body of water between Connecticut and New York. So Joan mentioned that every reserve has a state partner. For us, it's the University of Connecticut. So that's where our home base as of right now is. We're at the Avery Point campus of UConn down in Groton, Connecticut. So the reserve is about 52,000 acres, and a big part of that, as you can see from the blue on this screen, is Long Island Sound. And then there's also 5 land-based sites as well. So I'm going to quickly just kind of zip through some of the reasons that the Connecticut Reserve was established, some of the things that make it really special, just so you guys get a little background of who we are since we are so new. Okay, so why is the reserve so special? The first reason is all this area in Long Island Sound. Long Island Sound is it's a major driver of Connecticut's blue economy. So everything having to do with the water. The Long Island Sound is really cool. It has a lot of different sediment types, and the area that the reserve includes has shallow waters, really deep waters. It also has the majority of eelgrass beds. So it's about a third of the eelgrass beds in Long Island Sound are included in our reserve, and half of the ones in Connecticut waters. And that's very different. A lot of reserves around the nation don't have eelgrass beds, especially the ones in New England. So that was another reason why we were designated. We also have recreational and leased shellfish beds and kelp aquaculture. So here's some of the critters that live in this beautiful lighthouse, beautiful scenery, but critters that live in Long Island Sound. So another reason it's so special is because of the Connecticut River. So the mouth of the Connecticut River is included in the reserve, and this is a natural area that doesn't have a port. That's very unique for New England. A lot of the rivers have these big industrial ports, but the Connecticut River does not. And part of that reason is because it has this shallow, sandy area offshore. So there's never a port established there, unlike the Thames River, which is at the eastern end of our reserve, which has a ton of, I'm sitting right next to it. It has a ton of industry built up on it. So the Connecticut River is also important for recreational opportunities, lots of kayaking, lots of boating, fishing. It's also a stopover for migrating birds, and the river has the highest fish diversity in the region, about 78 species, which do include some special species like Atlantic salmon and Atlantic sturgeon. And these little smart salt marsh sparrows, which if you're not familiar are sadly being affected by climate change, but I'll get into that because there's an opportunity for you to learn more about that later. So this is just a couple of aerials. This is this site up here at the northernmost part of the reserve in the Connecticut River, Lord Cove. And then also this is down at the mouth of the Connecticut River. It's the Roger Torrey Peterson Natural Area Preserve. If you're familiar, this is the Amtrak line that runs right at the mouth of the Connecticut River. And then the last thing I want to highlight is this really special place over here, which is Bluff Point. It's a state park, a coastal reserve, and a natural area preserve. If you've ever been to Connecticut or ever plan to come to Connecticut, come on over to Groton and check out Bluff Point State Park because it is a very, very unique area. It's the last significant piece of undeveloped land in Connecticut along the coastline, has a bunch of unique landforms and habitats, crazy history. There used to be houses out on this point. They got wiped out by a hurricane. I mean, it's when you start digging into what Bluff Point has been and what it is now, it's pretty incredible. Stopover for migrating birds, and then also just a lot of recreational opportunities. So we do a lot of our programming in this state park because it is a state park and it's easy to get to, accessible, and it's kind like the areas on the Connecticut River. We need to protect them a little bit more because they're a little bit more like an undeveloped areas. So this is just an aerial of Bluff Point. And then Haley State Farm, which is this little land over here, which is adjacent to Bluff Point. So I'll stop there. If you want to learn, I have other stuff to tell you about, but about the reserve, I'm going to stop there. If you want to learn more, this is the link to our website. You can also sign up for our email list. If you go to Join Us and Connect, you can find it on there. But that'll give you a lot of updates related to the research we're doing, different stewardship activities, training opportunities. What I want to go into is what I think you all probably are most interested in, that some of the educational programming that we do. So adding to your toolkit, Joan and I thought I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do at the Connecticut Reserve or what we're planning on doing, and then jump into some of the resources that are provided kind of more from like the reserve system. So first thing I want to say is that if you are local to Connecticut or coming to see us, we have like a lot of resources, which is right now just us and the places that the reserve includes. So we've got all of our core coordinators on board and ready to do whatever we can, lots of expertise among these folks. And then, as I mentioned, all these different areas. So we are place-based, you know, we do a lot of place-based learning. So we have these areas where we can do programming. Some of the what's to come. We recently did an educator survey, and that was really to figure out like what the needs are for local teachers, and then also kind of how we can fill that niche. So who's already doing those things and what's left to do. So if you are interested, there's a QR code right here that you could take the survey. It's just like, I think 14 questions. But just so you know, some of the things that came back in the survey and some of the things that I think we can fill a niche with and are planning on focusing on, 3 out of 5 of the top things that educators wanted were emotional connection to nature, nature-inspired art, and cultural history. So folks really wanted those 3 things, resources to incorporate into their curriculum. So those are 3 things that I haven't seen a ton of people around our area doing. So we're gonna probably start focusing on those priorities. Also, lots of requests for field-based programming. And one thing that we just submitted a grant for the other day is to get some monitoring equipment for folks to borrow. So you can actually get a tote and borrow that from us and have the equipment that you can use at your school. So stay tuned for those things. A couple of other things for our what's to come. So unlike the tote you can borrow, Joan talked about our tote workshops, which are teachers on the estuary. We're going to do our first one this spring, and it's actually going to be focused around data mysteries. And one of the things we're going to focus on are those salt marsh sparrows and how they're being impacted by climate change. We're also, you know, we have been right now, because we don't have any developed programming, whenever someone comes to us and they want to do a program, it's kind of like a choose your own adventure. We're doing hands-on programming related to either data analysis or just field-based programming based on teacher needs right now, since we are still developing our own programming. We're also thinking about ways that we can use some of the data that educators are collecting in management. So we're working with Connecticut DEEP, or Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, to see how we can do that. And then there's also volunteer program that we're working on. We'll get there. It's still in the works. And then community events, which include like stewardship days and then reserve celebration days. So again, sign up for our newsletter if you're interested, or just email me. I can put you on there. So now into some of the resources that already exist. So since, you know, at the Connecticut Reserve, we don't have too much to offer just yet, we thought it would be important to share some of the resources that are existing. So I'm going to share 2 things, and you're going to see a QR code. So if you want, even if you want to pull it up on your phone, it works great on your phone. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Estuary Education page. So there's the website and there's the QR code. And here, there's a couple of things to look at. Let me escape out of here real quick, and I'm just going to pull up the website itself. So there's a couple of things we wanted to point out. The first one is Estuary Education Resources, and the second one is the video gallery. We're going to talk about this one in a minute. And if you did want to see if there's a teacher on the estuary or tote workshop, and he will come in to you anytime soon, you can click on this. But if you go to this Estuary Education Resources, this recently was revamped. There was, if you're familiar with this website, there was a lot of stuff. Joan knows better than me because I just started, but it was recently revamped to really streamline things. And what I love about it is that it's got these filters. So you can actually go through and say, okay, You know, I want to find something for high school students and, you know, on whatever topic. Let's do weather and climate. And then the lessons that actually will fall within those things will pop up. So that way you don't have to be culling through tons and tons of, you know, clicking all over the place. So, I was going to give you guys a minute to like go through this, but I want to have time for question and answer. So you guys can like go to the QR code and Hannah's going to send out the link if she didn't already. I haven't been watching the chat, but you can kind of click around on this and find all different lessons that might fit within your current curriculum. Joan, I don't know, do you have like any ones that you love best from here? Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, that I love best?
I don't
Let's
know.
see.
You probably know it a little bit better than me.
Oh, of course, I love the Sentinel Site Lesson Plan booklet. Ha ha. And bringing
Yeah.
wetlands to market.
Yeah, so this one, and so that program that Joan was talking about with doing that monitoring over time, you know, at those specific sites, the Sentinel site monitoring, so you can like use this lesson plan. So there's a lot of stuff in here, and hopefully the search features allow you to kind of filter through it a little bit easier. So check that out. And then the other thing I want to show you, let me just pull this. No, let me do that. Hold on a second. Let me just pull this down. It's, you know, the one thing about Zoom is that you lose the top of your, okay, here we go. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to show you is if you go up to these three little bullets and click, or three little dots and click on Teach with Data, you can go to this data mysteries. And this is really pretty cool. Every site across the nation, every reserve site has a system-wide monitoring program. And that program is set up to collect real-time water quality data at different sites, at certain sites within the reserve. And some of the reserves that have been established for a really long time have a huge set of data. So they've been tracking the water quality in these different, at these different stations for a long time. We don't have ours set up yet, but we're working on it. But what the education coordinators did was they came up with these data mysteries. So if you have a long-term set of data, you know, data that you've been collecting over a long time, you know, sometimes there's like a little blip in the data or something happens. And it's really cool when you can actually like capture that within the data. And so what the education coordinators did was they captured those little blips in the data and made mysteries out of them. So if you go to this website and let me quickly just pull this up in case anybody wants to. Okay, so here's the QR code in case, I'll pause just for a second in case anybody wants to take a picture of that. I don't know, Hannah, did you put that one in the chat too? The data mysteries one?
It's the one that I don't have. So I'm
Okay, no worries.
right now and I'll toss it in there.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat real quick. Because this one's pretty cool. I just want to make sure everybody can get to this. Okay. So go back to the website. So we're going to do one of the data mysteries. I'm just going to walk you through it. But if you scroll down, it talks a little bit about the data mysteries. And then there's a whole bunch of mysteries listed by site. I was thinking, Joan, I should have probably done yours. But instead, I'm going to do one from Rhode Island. So half, you know, midway between you and me. Okay. So let's go down to Rhode Island mysteries. We're going to do this one, Nag Creek got spiked. So you just click on it. It says, here's the mystery. On August 29th, 2018, there was a big increase in dissolved oxygen in Nag Creek. What happened? So this is all set up where you can just learn about. So here's some clues to help with the mystery. It talks a little bit about like daily fluctuations in dissolved oxygen and like photosynthesis. So how the plants can provide more oxygen to the water, especially during the daytime when they're photosynthesizing. And then down here, so there's a spike in oxygen. We're going to try to figure out why. So it says, are we ready to investigate the data? Yes. Okay. So what we do is we're just going to make one graph to save time. We're going to do this graph too. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to go down here to this embedded data set. So this has all the data for all of the reserves around the nation. So we're going to click on Narragansett Bay. And if we scroll back up, so we want to look at this station. So it's the water quality at Nag Creek. Okay, so we're going to click this one right here. I'm going to select it. Okay, and they have their step-by-step instructions. I'm trying to go not super fast, but I don't want to spend too much time, but it's very easy to learn how to use this tool. So graph data. So again, remember, we're looking for dissolved oxygen and water temperature. So we want to see what was going on with these two during this time when there was that dissolved oxygen spike. Okay, so we're going to select dissolved oxygen, and we're going to go over here, Narragansett Bay, Nag Creek, and we're going to do temperature. And then the two dates, we want to look up the start date and the end date. So August 25th to September 2nd in 2018. Oh, I've done this before. I practiced. So it's there. Okay, and then we hit graph. So takes a minute. There it goes. Okay, so this is real data that was collected in Narragansett Bay at Nag Creek. So you can see, if you look at this data, you can see that the temperature kind of just did its normal cycle up and down, but right around this time right here, there was this big spike in oxygen. So we graphed it and we see it. We see what they're talking about. If we keep scrolling down, it asks us if we're ready to solve the mystery. So we make sure our graphs are the same. We didn't do this one, but this one is the same. That's what we were supposed to graph. We graphed it correctly. And then it gives us a little clue. And if you look at this, so this is the SON. This is the device that actually collects that water quality data. And if you look, it is like covered in algae. So we're like, maybe that could have something to do with that oxygen spike. So if we scroll down a little bit more, ask you a couple questions. So was there a decrease in the water temperature that could help explain the spike? Well, if you remember back, no, there was nothing too crazy going on there. It was a normal cycle. Okay, we got that one right. Good. And then, could the stuck algae have contributed? Yeah, it sure could. So this is just one example. Then it explains what can happen. So this is just one example of these data mysteries, but I think they're really cool because it's real-time data. And this is something that you can use, like if, your students are collecting data, just outside in like their schoolyard, this is kind of a good thing to like get people thinking, like, why could data sometimes look different? What can be happening? So let me minimize this and pull my PowerPoint back up. Yeah, so if you guys want to check that out, I think there's a whole slew of cool data mysteries. And as I mentioned, the tote workshop that the Connecticut Reserve is going to do in next spring is going to be focused all around data mysteries, but they're going to be local ones. So the first one that so far we have on our agenda is related to Barn Island, which is just in the eastern part of Connecticut. So I think with that, I'll just end there. This is our little thank you slide, but I put a QR code to our website and then also Joan's in case you didn't catch earlier. But yeah, hopefully we have enough time, like 15 minutes for questions.
No, that's great timing. Thank you, Larissa.
You're welcome.
Love the whole mystery aspect. I think there's so many variables that you can use to put that in other lessons. And so I'm really glad that we got to go through that tonight.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just going to ask you to stop sharing
Yep.
your screen. Oh, I missed Joan's email, but I'll put that in just a minute. And while I'm doing that, if you guys want to toss in a few questions either in the chat or get them ready, I have a couple ones to get us juiced up, and then I'm going to open it up to you guys. But thank you both so much for sharing. I know it's a time to have to do it online, and to everyone that came online today, thank you for coming. I know that it is definitely a different platform. As educators, we probably prefer to be in person, and I'm excited that this is making it a little bit more accessible for all of us instead of coming all to Stonington multiple times for these workshops. My first question for both of you, let's see if I can double the spotlight, is what got you both interested in this in the first place? Like you both have such a rich history working in education and in estuary education and wetland. Like what catalyzed that? Did you know right off the start? Did you like just absolutely stumble upon it and get hooked like I did? What's the story there?
Okay, looks like I'm okay.
You are spotlight. Whoops. All right.
Okay. Well, I grew up on Long Island. So Long Island, and actually my town, West Islip, was right on the Great South Bay. So that's, that's what we went to the beach and that's how we had fun. And also like my dad had built this little bungalow out further out on the island. And I just like spend so much time just walking along the beach and collecting shells and my little seashores guide and things. And then, in high school, we actually had a marine biology class and we went snorkeling and all that. So I think that's where I just first said, oh, this stuff is fascinating. So I think that's what I got the interest in it. And then, started you can have a job where you get to do this for your job. So.
Yeah, and I think for me, I grew up on Long Island Sound, and I did my undergrad at UConn. Actually, it's really funny, 20 years later, to be back in like the same building. Anyway, my last semester, I took a class down here at Avery Point and got hooked. It's funny though, because then, I took some time off and then went back to grad school and did my master's looking at bycatch in the horseshoe crab trail fishery. And I realized that I don't really like science as much as I like nature, which there is a difference. And I like people a lot more than I like statistics. So
that's what I learned I learned in grad school too. When I did research, I said, this is kind of boring, like measuring all these little things. I'd rather do, be more with people. So yeah.
Yes. So, that's, I've worked a lot with young adults and they're always like, I don't know what I want to do. And I'm like, it doesn't matter really what you want to do because it's probably going to change a million times throughout your life anyway. And that's okay. Like, every opportunity is a learning opportunity. So, you can keep growing.
Wow, that's a great mindset. That's so awesome. I feel like a lot of people that are here at NESS too, like they just were a camp counselor outside and they were like, I'm never going back inside and I want to share with everyone. So that's cool. I relate to the enjoying people's presence more than statistics, but I do like the math. Like that's fun. So being able to trick kids into enjoying math is always a perk. Oh, Nina's asking, how do you overcome transportation barriers when getting students and teachers to your reserves? Because we've noticed that's a challenge with other BWET grantees.
Do you want me to go first? Because I guess
yeah, go ahead, Joan. Yeah, for sure.
Well, they've actually they've been able to do it. And we actually haven't been paying for buses. We're kind of there's just so much capacity that we have anyway. I do know that some of them, they're school districts, they're fine, they pay for it. Some of them, they have a PTA that pays for it. But the districts that are near enough to us seem to be able to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're new, so we haven't really had to overcome that yet. But I will say that a couple of things that we are doing. So one thing is I think we're trying to start with educator workshops in hopes that, kind of like a train the trainer approach, then the educators can take that to their students. We're also developing a friends group and hoping that maybe they can help with fundraising if we do need it. And then one last thing that I actually just was working on before this, we have an opportunity as a Hollings Scholar position, and it's an undergraduate position that's offered through NOAA. And so we submitted a proposal to have a undergrad come in and do some work related to access to our different reserve sites. So looking at like not only for students, but also for community members, like seeing you know, if people can get to the sites and if they can use them once they get to them, if they feel comfortable being there. So we'll see how that works out. But I think, you know, right now we're kind of just, we're trying to figure out ways to plan to have that problem.
Did you have, in your survey, did that come up as a barrier?
It didn't really, no, but our survey was also really focused on, there's a lot of questions related to like when people would want to do workshops and things like that. But a lot of people did say that they wanted stuff that they could do it at their schoolyard. So maybe it was related to transportation.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, a couple of things. We do sometimes go into the classroom, but it's just not this, it's just not really the same as when they get to come to the reserve. So
Yeah, that's actually a good transition. So for both of you, if you have a group come in and leave, what do you hope your students walk away with after a visit to your NERR? Like, what do you want them to feel or have done?
well, I
Go ahead,
want them
Joan.
to be excited about estuaries and want to help save estuaries. And that's what I really want them to leave with. But it's good when they get some of the information and concepts as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, you saw on that list of our priorities is that emotional connection to nature. That is something that, like, I don't know how we're going to do it yet. I'm just starting phone calls with like random people trying to collect ideas, but I think that's it. Like, I think if you have an emotional connection to nature or just like have a really unique experience or something that inspires you, like that kind of keeps you coming back. It kind of sparks your curiosity. It might make you care more about things, you know, down the road that have to do with the environment. So it's similar, you know, just trying to get them, to catch them, to bring them in, want them, make them want to learn more.
Yeah, I think that's what makes this so special. And this was a follow-up question I had for both of you is like, how do you define experiential learning? Because to me, it goes so hand in hand with social emotional growth that it's unavoidable that students are going to grow in one way or another. And maybe like having that social awareness and connection to nature comes through different kinds of experiential learning opportunities. But I got a little sidetracked there. If you were to be put on the spot and try to define experiential learning to you as an educator, what would you share with others?
let me go first again. Well, it's when you get to be out there in, you know, in the environment and really doing something like, you know, maybe you are taking some data, maybe you are getting your feet muddy. So that's as opposed to, you know, reading about it or being in the classroom and watching a PowerPoint or something. So that's how I would define it. Mhm.
Yeah, same. And I would tie in like, again, that curiosity, like it's being able to like ask the questions and um almost also like letting the student kind of like follow the path. So I said before, choose your own adventure, but I feel like that's kind of part of it. You know, it's like you can kind of learn about what interests you the most within that topic. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like kids see things so differently that it's really great when you keep it student centered, the questions they'll come up with, and you're like, oh, you know what? I don't really know. Let's go
Yeah.
figure it out together. That's just, it's the most rewarding seeing them think critically and challenge you as an educator to push themselves to in their own learning. Like that's agency right there. And it leads hand in hand with experiential learning too. So it's great. And we'll talk a lot more about how we do that in the workshop when you guys come here. But I want to hit a little bit more on these two, what makes you so special. If you, let's see, I've got a couple other questions. Oh, this one's light. What is your favorite part of your job? You come, you get ready, it's Monday. What are you looking forward to in the week in your role?
First again. Well, of course I love being out there and being in the environment and being with the kids. But another thing I really like about my job now, because I sort of oversee the education department, but is getting to know different partners and different kinds of people that we work with. And it's just such a interesting world, all the different cultures and things out there. So that's one aspect I really enjoy, in addition to just being out there in the, in the environment with the kids and others.
Yeah, and I think for me, kind of looking at it, like, it's hard for me to, since we're still developing our program, I think I tend to look at the bigger picture right now. And one thing for me, is like, one of the reasons I took this job is because I get to develop the program, and coming back to this community after 20 years away, it's just funny because there's so many of the same faces. And I feel like it is like my mission to like find people that have not been at the table and like pull them in and try to find, like, just really think outside of the box about, like Joan said, like who our partners are, because it's just so many of the same people. And not that they shouldn't be there, they should, but I think there's like so many other people we can connect so that we can kind of do things in a new way. So that's kind of been my little passion, hoping to do over the next couple of years.
I love it. Build community over NERR education. That's so fun. What a cool job. All right, well, I'm gonna do one last call for any questions before we sign off with these two. We had a comment from Eric saying that he works at a farm. He actually works at Stoneacre Farms down the way in Stonington, if you're in the area. He
Yes.
teaches culinary lessons, so he might use those. But I cannot thank you two enough for coming tonight and for sharing these resources. I'm going to be sure to share all of them directly with the group that attended today, so you have them immediately, and then they're also going to be referenced in the tackle box this year, so they'll be up and live on the website soon, after the 21st. But they're invaluable. The training that you provided on how to access the data mysteries is great. Like, I know there's a little document to walk you through it all, but Larissa, that was awesome. And Joan, it's so exciting to hear about all the programs you had going on at Webner. It's so inspirational as an environmental educator. And I hope you guys know that this is just so, I'm so grateful you were able to come and share. So if we are all set on questions, I'm going to let everyone go enjoy their nights. Look forward to seeing you possibly next Wednesday, and I will be in touch if you signed up for an in-person opportunity with details about coming here to Stonington. So thank you all and enjoy your night.
Thanks,
Night, everybody.
Nice to see y'all.